Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you, and a special welcome to those who are new, maybe new to Iowa City, or at least new to St. Mary's as we start this new school year. Friends, if the fire alarm in the church were to go off right now, what would you do? What would you do? Probably nothing, to be honest. You'd probably look around, and if other people were making a move, then maybe you would too. No one wants to move unless they absolutely have to. But if you smelt smoke and then heard the fire alarm go off, what would you do? You would make a move for the exits. A pretty startling opening to our gospel this morning, when Jesus said, "I have come to set the world on fire, and how I wish it were already blazing." I think Jesus, with those words, is trying to compel us to make a move. To make a move. That image of fire in the Bible is used in a variety of different ways. On Mount Sinai, the burning bush, this bush that gets caught up in fire, marks God's presence to Moses. And Moses, seeing it, makes a move towards it and encounters God. In the book of Genesis, the fire in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah is an image of God purifying those cities. And in the wake of that, people make a move. And then you have the fire that descends on the apostles on Pentecost, the symbol of the Holy Spirit, where this group of people goes from hiding to making a move and going out into the world and taking with them the gospel message. The fire makes us move. And I think that understanding can kind of open up the rest of what's pretty much a difficult gospel for us. That what is Jesus trying to tell us today? That our decision, our making a move to make Him be the complete center and foundation of our life, is the most decisive decision that we will ever make. That in His mind, more important than any other relationship I have is my relationship with God. Why? Because it's my relationship with God that makes every other relationship possible in the first place. But Jesus is calling us not to be certain kinds of people that happen to be Christians, but to be Christians that happen to be certain kinds of people. That we do not see ourselves as men and women, husbands and wives, sons and daughters, doctors, students, athletes that happen to be Christian. No, that we see ourselves as Christians that happen to be men and women, husbands and wives, sons and daughters, students and doctors, and teachers and athletes. That the most decisive decision we can make is that we place our lives in His hands and that we build them on Him. The image that our second reading used today to describe this movement we make to build our lives on Christ is that image of a race. A race in which we are all competing in, but we're not competing against one another or anybody else. We're competing against those lesser loves that at times become obstacles to us loving God before everything else. And at the finish line, each one of us will be asked the most decisive question of our life. The question that we are already being trained in learning how to answer. And that question is this: that when we see God face to face, He will ask us, "Do you love me more than anyone or anything else?" Anna, do you love me more than anyone or anything else? Suzanne, do you love me more than anyone or anything else? Dan, do you love me more than anyone or anything else? That's the question that this race is preparing us to have an answer to. But as we run it, we do not run it alone. That second reading also told us that we are surrounded by a great crowd of witnesses, those who have already run and won the race, but each at their own pace. I want to share a couple of those witnesses with you this morning. Here we have the call of St. Matthew. This is a painting from the Italian painter Caravaggio. You can see this at a church in Rome. You have Jesus here and Matthew here pointing at him. You remember this scene from the gospel. Matthew, the tax collector, is huddled up with his tax collecting buddies, hunched over his money, when Jesus breaks in and the fire alarm starts going off. And Jesus just very simply invites Matthew with these words, "Hey, you, follow me." In this moment, what is going through Matthew's head? Do I love my money more than I love this guy, Jesus, I have started to hear about? Well, he doesn't stew on that question all that long, at least not the way the gospel tells us, because what we hear is Jesus says, "Hey, you come follow me," and then Matthew got up and followed him. And the whole trajectory of his life was forever different. But for some of those witnesses, it took a little bit longer. Like this guy, Augustine. Maybe you know a little bit about Augustine's story. His trek, his run to convert to Christianity was an ultra-marathon. Augustine was riddled with difficulty, and he had a lot of baggage with which we might be able to relate. Augustine is famous for having prayed, "God, make me chaste, just not yet." But as he was dealing with these questions and these issues, as the Lord was starting to blare that fire alarm in his life, "Augustine, come follow me," and he was always hesitating, it got to this point that Augustine recounts in his autobiography, The Confessions, and here painted by Fra Angelico, where while at his friend's house in Milan, Augustine was outside and he was overcome with emotion about how hesitant he had been to finally take that step and follow Christ. And he asked himself this: how much longer will I go on saying tomorrow, tomorrow? Why not today? And Augustine took that first step. He began running that race. And his life was forever different. Friends, each one of us is still running that race, and each one of us is running it at a different pace, and that is totally okay. But as we run, perhaps you, like I do, know the experience of growing tired and discouraged. That second reading today told us that we are to rid ourselves of the burdens and of any sin that clings to us, so that we might run more quickly towards the finish line. We might do so more lightly. And if you're anything like me, you probably are thinking, I have tried to do that. I know what the lesser loves are in my life that I have tried to rid myself of, but every time I try, I fail and I grow discouraged. But there are two ways we can run this race. One is by trying to just run more lightly, free up front of all of these burdens, or we can try and run it more strongly. That when I look at my life and I see the lesser loves calling out to me, the things I know I need to part from but find it so difficult, I can make the goal in my head, to be a Christian, I have to stop doing this, that, and the other thing. And I try, and I fail, and I get discouraged. What if instead, our goal today, this week, the next step in the race that we are called to take is not to not do something, but to do something? That what is the good that needs to be more a part of my life? What is the virtue that I need to be pursuing? When I look at my life, what needs to be more a part of it? And as I am filling my life up with the good, the space that the bad takes up naturally shrinks away. And this is a more compelling way to live. And as we live this way, we are little by little taking that step closer to Christ. Little by little are we planting ourselves on Him, who is our life's foundation, so that when that day comes, I will be well-trained and well-ready to say to the Lord, yes, Lord, I love you more than anyone or anything else.